final video in the couch series here. I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about what my objectives are for 2021. And so it's mid-December now. This is the time for all these discussions. I think it's important to step away from the sport a little bit, which I did last week. But now I'm sort of back thinking about ways to be better. And that's sort of the professional athlete mindset is I'm always, even in success, thinking about what's the next thing, how can I get faster, how can I get better, how can I move up the leaderboard, what can I do to improve. So I've had a lot of those discussions internally with my wife Jeannie. I've spoken to my family about it, and then of course all of my coaches, I've spoken to them individually, and then they've sort of collectively put their heads together and thought about, all right, what are Justin's limiters, what are his weak spots, and how can we turn those into his strengths. And so I think for me, there are a couple main pieces of the puzzle that I need to focus on. I think the number one piece for me, there's actually a couple number one pieces here. There's a couple priorities. Number one is going to be ensuring that my mental game is more paid attention to. And I think this sport is so important, so impactful on your life. And I think all of the pros train at an insanely high level. We're all super fit on race day. Of course, there's minutia in terms of what your strengths and weaknesses are, what you've got to work on, what your physiology looks like. I think all of that is detail, and to some degree that stuff's a little bit easier because it's like, all right, here's the weakness, here's what you need to do in training to get better. Go out there and execute that. Hopefully over time it becomes better. And most of the time that's the way it works. You can't predict the actual time frame for some of those things, but for the most part that's a pretty simple procedure. The more difficult one is setting your mind up to be in the best place possible. I think that comes down to your stress level. I think it comes down to how much you're investing in your recovery, and then I think it comes down to what are your expectations, and then what is your mindset on that start line. So I think to be completely transparent, I don't know what that looks like right now. I still need to do some more research in that department, but I think that's on the forefront of my mind to figure out what I can do to improve my mental game. So those are going to be some steps that I take in the next couple weeks, whether that's working with a sports psychologist or just speaking to the people on my team more, or just trying to take more steps to be a little bit more humble, or I would say just a little bit less intense about sort of the day-to-day and the competition and whatever. Just sort of focus on my own process. Those are definitely big ones for me. And then I think what a lot of people want to know are like, what are you going to do in order to try and win more races, dude? And I think that comes down to what am I not good at? What are the things that are handcuffing me from winning? And I think when it comes to the majority of races, whether they're 70.3s, Olympic distance, sort of these mixed distance races, I'm losing time on the bike. And so if you've seen my results from the last 2-3 years, that's sort of what happens is I'll swim pretty well, I'll get on the bike, I'll lose time, and then I'll run my way back in, and that handcuffs me from winning. Can I be really consistent getting podiums and top fives? 100%, because I can run my way back into the race and sort of limit my losses on the bike. But in order to be super successful, you can look at and study the sport. The bike is where the bike is so important. That's where every race is sort of won or lost, and you just can't be bleeding time on the bike, and you still got to run really well. You can lose maybe a minute or two, but anything more than that, and the win's sort of out of the equation. So my objective for this next couple months is to really, really focus on my cycling. I think for me, it comes down to multiple things. I think it comes down to increasing my strength, increasing my power, continuing to work on my aerodynamics. I'm always going to be at a disadvantage in that department because of my height. 6'4", it's not easy to block, to hide from the wind when you're this size. So working with Quintana Roo, working with Matt Bottrell, trying to get the aerodynamics as tight and as good as possible, and sort of making every decision that we can in terms of the equipment to make sure that my aerodynamics are super on point. I feel like I've been pretty good about that, not leaving a lot of stones unturned, but I know that there are very many that we can continue to look at. So we'll be looking at that, and then I think just trying to make I think it's a mindset shift. I think the cycling for me, because it's my biggest, my hardest discipline of the three, I'm not quite as competent in that department, so I'm not as motivated to ride. I love running. I really enjoy swimming. The bike to me sometimes feels like a bit of a chore, and I think some of that comes down to I over swim and over run a little bit because those feel so good. I'm craving that positive feedback. Of course, I'm pushing myself equally on the bike, but it's just not, it doesn't come with the same flow as the swim or the run. So my objective in the next couple months and weeks is to really try and make the cycling a priority, make that at the forefront of my training, whether that's how I structure a day, what session comes first, the overall volume and distribution. I'm gonna leave all that up to the coaching staff, but I think for now, it's really important for me to say, I want to become a great cyclist. And even if that comes at a little bit of a, an acute sacrifice of my swimming or running, I don't care, because I just don't want to lose on the bike anymore. And that's been a mindset that I've had the majority of 2020, but I don't know if I backed it 100%. I mean, a race like Huntington, I went into that race and I knew the dynamic. I said, I will not lose this race on the bike. I went out there, had the fastest bike split, and then I won the race. These other ones where I sort of let it slip a little bit, I don't go in with that same sort of attack mindset. I don't have the fitness or strength right now in order to let that mindset slip. I need to be 100% on physically and mentally when it comes to getting on two wheels in order to set myself up to be successful in races. So that's my objective moving forward. From a racing perspective, I don't know what that looks like. Honestly, I'm not even thinking about it right now. I just want to be a better cyclist and then therefore a better triathlete. So find me on Zwift, find me on the roads and the canyons of Boulder, find me in the gym working with Aaron. Those are my objectives here, just trying to get better and stronger. And for me right now, where I'm at in my career, that is working on my cycling. So we're probably gonna do some videos on some really hard bike rides and some fun bike rides hopefully as well, but we're gonna take you along. Thank you for following along on this couch series, giving you an inside look at what the off-season mindset and discussion is for a pro. And I hope you guys stick around, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff really helps the channel grow, and then we can do more stuff like this. And so, yeah, stay tuned. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a good holidays and take care. Peace. Bye.